Hello there, listeners. You are back. I'm not sure why, but here you are again in the Red Rabbit Hole. And we have a special treat for you today. We have a special guest, an author called Karen King. Are you with us, Karen?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Nicky. Hi, Lisa. And
Hello,
hi,
welcome.
hi, listeners, I should say as well.
Yeah. Unless they are watching somehow, because then they'd be
Um,
listening to Elmo. I mean, you never know. We
yeah.
don't like to assume anything. But Karen here, Karen is an author of, well, she writes both heartwarming romances alongside dark thrillers, and currently lives in Spain, moved from Birmingham to Spain. That was quite a big move, Karen.
Yes, it was. It's been nearly 7 years now.
Blimey, 7 years.
And how's the weather?
The weather is gorgeous. Sorry, ladies, but
Ah,
really nice.
oh. Here we are in May recording this, and well, almost in May. We're not even in May, are we? We're in April still, just, but
We're just in April, yeah. That's.
not had any decent sunshine yet.
I was actually told yesterday that apparently spring is a myth perpetuated by big weather. And I was like,
What is big weather?
I don't know. I have no idea, but do you know what? It kind of rang true, so I didn't deny it.
But I can kind of imagine big weather having like a big meeting, and there is somebody there with a map standing, pointing out our domination plans are like this, and it will be mainly raining hellfire in the north.
And snow everywhere. Snow, snow, snow.
Or we'll keep pretend. That's it. This is their plan. There's like we keep pretending spring is that we pretend it's getting warm. We pretend it's getting nice. So when you get in your car at the moment here, it's like it's really hot, isn't it? You're like, oh, it's really heated up. And then when you get out, no, it's freezing.
Yeah, freezing jumper weather. So, Karen, tell us something bad about Spain. Make us feel good.
Okay. Right. Well, we could do with some rain because all the reservoirs are going dry and we're on water restrictions. So we can't fill our pool, ladies. We
Oh,
have to be careful. I know, I
what a
know.
tragedy.
The
Yeah,
deprivation.
yeah. Um, we have to be careful with watering the plants, washing the cars. I mean, we have a well,
Oh.
not a well with a bucket. We have a borehole that goes underground. So we have well water where we don't have town water, um, but we buy bottled water to drink and that. So it's not too bad for us, but we're worried about the well running dry. But the people in the towns, they are really on restrictions. Some towns in Spain, their water's turned off overnight
Oh, no.
for a few hours. I don't know. I think it's about 8 hours just to save the water. So we have had some rain, but we need more. We don't want it. We want the sun, but we need it.
Yeah, it's the balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have to ask, has the well ever inspired any thrillers
Ooh.
or indeed romance novels
Um,
for you?
it's not in the way you're thinking because, like I said, it's not a well with a bucket like everyone imagines. It's covered up and it's a really small borehole, but it's sometimes the water goes off for some reason, the electricity cable, if it gets wet, if we do have rain and it soaks the garden and it soaks the electricity cable from the well to the house, we have no water till it dries out. One day I just coloured my hair when the water went.
Oh
This is
no.
I've actually used this in two of my books. I've used it, the colour in the air bit in my romance, The Yoda Starting Over, and I've used some of the troubles we've had in my thriller, The Retreat. So I'm desperately hoping we can get the water on, and my husband's trying to get the water on and he can't. So in the end, he has to get a big bottle of it's ice cold water, and I'm leaning over the sink and he's pouring it over my hair to get the colour off, and I'm like, oh no, it's cold, it's cold.
Oh, and it takes so long to get all the colour out as well.
And we did it, and then 15 minutes later, our water came back on.
Oh, but you can't wait 15 minutes for the
No,
development time.
no,
If
no,
it needs to come
no.
out, it's got to come out.
So some of the things that have actually happened to us, I've used in my last thriller, The Retreat, is set in a retreat in Spain in the Andalusian mountains, which is where we live. We're not high up in the mountain, but we were in Andalusia, and some of the things that I've had going wrong there in the retreat have actually happened to us. And also, as I said, in the Yoda starting over, some of the things that went wrong for us have appeared in there as well. So I've used the experiences a bit. But no, I haven't had anyone shoved down the well because it's not big enough.
So you're not so much going down a rabbit hole, but a Spanish well for your research.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's commitment. That's living it, isn't it? Living an experience.
Slipping it, yeah.
You've not made me feel any less jealous, though, I
Ah,
have to
No.
say, Karen. It still
No.
sounds absolutely beautiful.
Have you filled up your pool, Lisa?
I'll get out the kids' paddling pool in a minute and I'll try and vision myself
Yeah.
somewhere warm and toasty and
Aw.
with beautiful mountains in the background.
Oh. Well, it sounds lovely, and I think you've probably made the right choice, to be honest.
yeah, we love it. We just obviously miss family, but we do go back to the UK quite regular. So
Yeah. You're only a couple of
go
hours
see
away,
everyone.
aren't you?
Yeah, a couple of hours flight. It takes about 8 hours by the time you set off from the airport early and get through everything, get on the plane, get off, catch the train to where you want to go. But it's you're there and back, so, So we usually come over for 4 or 5 days, something like that.
So, speaking of family, your
Hmm.
book that you're here to talk to us about is The Family Reunion.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you jumped down quite a rabbit hole for this one. I mean, I know me and Lisa jumped down quite a few rabbit holes when we heard you were coming on, which we will obviously tell you all about. So, Karen, tell us about The Family Reunion. What's it all about?
Well, it's inspired by. I like to watch The Long Lost Family on TV. I always watch that, and obviously it's happy endings. It's most of the time it's happy endings. It's lovely when everyone's reunited and everything, and they're all welcoming the new half sister, brother, or whatever into the family, which is brilliant. But as a psychological thriller author, I can't help going down the rabbit hole of, well, what if somebody's actually not happy about this? What if somebody resents this cuckoo coming into the nest and they know nothing about? What if there's inheritance involved? So I started thinking of a situation where, in my book, Mary's 60, and she had she was pregnant when she was 15, and she didn't. Her mum had died. She lived with her dad, and she didn't dare tell her dad. He was very strict. He was quite abusive. So, and she tried to hide the pregnancy, and she ended up giving birth alone when she was 16, when her dad was at work, and she abandoned the baby in a telephone box, and so she wrapped in a carrier bag, and wrapped up, and she waited to make sure the baby was found. But all the time she went on, and she had she lived a life, she married, she had a couple of other children, but all the time that baby was in her mind. And when her husband died, she never told him about it because she thought he wouldn't approve. But when he died, she wanted to look for this baby. It was a little girl. And eventually they found each other. So it was sort of like how the rest of the family reacted to that, because she had a daughter and a son. And also the girl, when she found her, I thought, well, instead of everybody being happy, what if this child who had been abandoned resented the fact that the mother went on to have a couple of other children and looked after them? What if she wanted the life she'd never had? And the tagline is, the daughter you never knew wants the life she never had. So that sort of was the inspiration for that story.
So there's a lot of conflict going on then, conflict between characters, and
There's a lot of conflict, yeah, and things going wrong. And of course, Mary's 60. I originally was going to have it at 70, but my editor said make her a bit younger. So she was 60. But so she's sort of like, her mom had dementia, early dementia. So when things starts going wrong, she's wondering, is it me? Is it my mind? And her kids are saying to her, you're being forgetful, mother. And they were sort of saying to each other, can mother be left on her own? Should we be doing something about this? So is it her, or is somebody out to cause trouble for her, and how far will they go?
so there was a lot of gaslighting in it.
Yes.
Love a bit of gaslighting. Obviously not done to
Interest in a
me.
novel. Yeah.
Or not doing.
Gonna
I like
say.
reading about it. Just to clarify, I like reading about it, not doing it to people
That's okay.
or
Yeah,
having
yeah,
it
yeah,
done to
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's such a good point. I think it's a brilliant observation because when I was researching and I'm looking and I'm trying to find photographs, every time you see a photograph in the paper or a story that is about long lost family, if you tap that in, all you see are these happy families, all smiling, like it's always lovely. And the same as you, I was thinking, but what if it is about the life you didn't have, that you didn't get? And also if you're seeking out family, long lost people, you might, particularly I think for the if you've grown up without your family, you've been, the child that's been abandoned, you might be thinking you're trying to sort of find yourself, find your identity, and you might have this really strong idea that this person couldn't care for me, that's why they gave me up. So you might have a sense that they're still going to be kind of chaotic and not able to take care for whatever reason that was, then to find out, oh, hang on, they had a life, they had a family, they were able to provide for a child, but they didn't provide for me.
Yeah. So that's got to be hard to take, I think. There must be some cases where it didn't work out. And obviously, with long lost family, they tell us the ones where it did, although sometimes maybe the parent has died, but by the time they trace them, but at least they get some sort of closure and they meet siblings or half siblings. But there's got to be some cases where it doesn't work out, and either the parent or the child would prefer not to know, or it all goes wrong when they do know. And I just sort of wanted to explore that. What if, Mary is delighted to find her daughter again, and her daughter seems delighted to find her. Her elder two are sort of a bit suspicious, but to each other, they voice their doubts, but they don't really voice them too much to their mom. But as I said, things keep going wrong. So, and then there's a blast from the past. I don't want to
No
give
spoilers.
too much away.
No.
But there's another something else thrown in as well.
See, I highly doubt that the whole happy families thing, I think is kind of, I would call bull on most of that anyway, because you're only happy for that split second that photograph is taken.
Yeah.
It's like,
Maybe not even for that photograph. Maybe you're masking it. Photos do lie, and you can see this happy family scenario. And maybe just before that photo was taken, everyone was arguing, or somebody was upset about something. But cameras out, and you do that smile, and we're all happy.
Yeah, or editing on the show, they're going to edit out any talk of, hang on, where did granddad's millions go and where's my
Yeah,
share?
yeah,
yeah, but and like you were both sort of talking about the kind of psychology, I guess, behind it, because you've got the children that are there, and you've got the new children, I guess, the cuckoo children, as you kind of refer to them, coming in, and the conflict there. But you've also got psychological issues from both sides. You've got the kind of abandonment issues that can cause all sorts of, everything from anxious attachment to everything else of someone that's been adopted. I suppose it's whether they realize they were adopted or not, but if they've, obviously they do when their real mum comes at them. But it's that kind of feeling that something's not quite right in your life. You're not where you were meant to be. I suppose the biology of you not meant to be. But then you've also got the other kids that are like, hang on, who is this that's now coming in at the last mile, looking to get in the will?
and also in the story, the other children, Joanna and Jason. Joanna is the eldest daughter, and then suddenly the long lost daughter Kathy comes along, and she's the eldest.
Yeah.
She's the eldest. She's the big sister. So, and her mom's relying on her. So you've got the family dynamics changing, and Jason, the son, thinks this is brilliant because he's sick of Joanne bossing him about, pulling the big sister thing. So now she's got a big sister. Yeah, there's a few dynamics going.
Yeah, that moving from eldest to middle sibling. And we have to talk about the middle child, don't we? Being
Middle child syndrome.
quite chaotic on the challenge. Yeah, middle child syndrome.
So, Lisa, with your kind of therapy background, have you ever come across anyone? So, I mean, obviously no names or anything, but is this something that you've looked into yourself? Do you know if there's, the psychological issues that are around that?
I think a lot of it about identity, and is that when you are seeking, particularly because I actually work a lot with sort of adopted and fostered young people, because there's often kind of challenges associated around that process and how that feels. And I think there's a lot of feelings that go on when someone within fostering and adoption, particularly quite often it's a long journey. So you might have people who will want to adopt because they've not been able to maybe have children themselves. It's been a long journey for them, and then they might adopt, and then that child might have struggles or difficulties, and quite often the parents might feel, well, they'll have to put a lot of work and support, and that will be very challenging, and it's almost not it isn't of their making. It's almost like somebody else has hurt this child, and then they are left as the ones who are kind of dealing with that, I suppose, is a way to put it, in a very kind of without kind of covering the real depth and expanse of it. And I think for those young people, there is quite a lot about identity and who am I. And I think we sugarcoat that a lot in the media, particularly, well, long lost family might be an example, but there's always a loving, happy family. It always works out. Everyone gets what they want. And in lots of cases, that is what happens. But I think quite often there's a lot around, like you were talking about attachment. You mentioned attachment, Nicky. That's a really challenging part of it. And how we foster and develop attachment, and when that has perhaps been damaged in some way, or that those early experiences have made that really difficult.
Is that something that you kind of thought about, Karen, when you were writing the characters, the kind of psychology?
Yes, I did, and also of the mother of Mary, the mother, because your heart has to go out to these mothers who have to abandon their children for some reason or other. She was only 16, and you can identify with that, and that must be a hard thing to do. And all the while, all through the years, she never forgot this first baby, and she really wanted to see a little girl again and know she was all right. So when she comes back in her life, then she's got this balancing act. She's not long lost her husband. I'm trying to think how long. I think it was something like 6 months. And she's got this balancing act where she's now a widow. She's found her first child. The other two children she senses are feeling rejected. There are grandchildren as well. There are friends, because Mary and her husband Paul they were pillars of society. And then suddenly she's got this dark secret that she hasn't told anyone. So there's lots of things going on. And I thought, to the psychology of all the characters, I tried to think about how this would affect them.
For the older siblings as well, that idea of thinking about your mum with someone else, that there was actually ever anyone else, it's quite a challenging thing to think about, because they would have had, in pillar of society, they would have had a really strong sense of their family as this strong, secure family unit.
Yes, and to think that she had a baby at that age.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I mean, the story actually starts with Mary being given. Well, there's a little bit at the beginning, the epilogue, but the story itself actually starts with Mary being given Villager of the Year award. So that's how much a pillar of society she is. And her husband had died not long before then, and Jason and Joanna, her children, are saying, "We're so proud of you," but in the background, she's got this child. She doesn't know. She hasn't found the child yet, but she goes to look for her after this. She's determined that she wants to find her first daughter. So you've got all sorts of conflicts going on.
And does she frame it as kind of a guilty secret? It sounds like a bit of a guilty secret, like a villager of the villager of the year, but hang on, no, I can't accept it because there's this thing I did.
Well, the thing is, she couldn't tell anyone because her mum had died, as I said, and her dad was so bad-tempered and abusive. She gave birth when he was at work. He didn't even realise she was pregnant. She didn't realise she was pregnant at first. She didn't even know what to do when she's having this baby. So it's quite a dramatic scene. And she goes and abandons the baby. But as I said, she makes sure that the baby's found. And then she goes back home. So she can't tell anyone. she doesn't tell her husband when he marries again. When she marries, well, not again because she didn't marry the first one. Um, so it's a teenage romance, and it was with somebody she shouldn't really have been with. So when she gets married to Paul, she doesn't tell him, and when she has her first child, she tells the doctor not to, because obviously doctors know you've had another baby, but she says, "Don't tell my
Yeah, I was
husband."
gonna say the
Yeah,
midwives know, don't they? Because
That is a great title for another book.
I
The midwife
yeah,
knows.
yeah.
I won't go into how the midwives know, but somebody's had 2 children, they know.
So it was this big secret, this dark secret for her that she always felt really bad about, and she really tried to be a good mother to the other two, and she kept wondering what was happening to her first baby. She heard the baby had been adopted, so she thought at least she's got parents, and that's all she knew.
Well, after reading The Family Reunion, I definitely went down some very, very dark rabbit holes because, like you, Karen, I write thrillers. You know, Twisted Mind.
You've been on my blog,
I
Nicky.
know I have. I get about. But yeah, Twisted Minds, unite. And it started making me think about sort of long lost family members like turning up out of nowhere. And I immediately thought of and a kind of romantic case, I guess, to kind of help your kind of romantic side, Karen. The Romanoff family, because that was a big thing at one point before DNA. Apparently, there was hundreds of people coming forward claiming to be the long lost Romanoffs. And it was I looked at again, fell down a rabbit hole, started looking at the cases, and some of them were just quite extravagant and amazing. And apparently, there were so many coming forward that the Russian government had a division of their government to actually deal with them all and to classify them.
Oh.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. They say fact is stranger than fiction, don't they? So
They
yeah.
do, and it was. I mean, the most well known are the Anastasia kind of imposters that were coming forward. And before DNA, they were using kind of facts that they were gleaning from family members that were obviously desperate to find their long lost family. And there was some very kind of, I suppose, experienced con people that got so far down the road. But to me, I was kind of reading them thinking, well, the most these kind of imposters actually ever got for all their efforts was kind of free room and board. They never did anything. It was so boring. It's like, well, why pretend long lost Russian royal and go to all that effort if you're not gonna, start a revolution or something?
Maybe they just like the idea of being royal.
Maybe, yeah, the kind of romance of it all.
Mm.
But there's probably some kind of psychological imposter syndrome. I mean, I know imposter syndrome is probably the other way around, where you think you're not as good as you are. But you know, there's got to be some kind of syndrome where people are almost addicted to being somebody else.
And yeah, if you're going to be anyone, why not be a long lost princess? It's got to be, that's what I'd choose.
Do something with it, like make an effort, start a revolution, get your crown back.
Well, did they just turn up with ones, made out of little plastic crowns or something? And you're like, no, have some jewels.
Tinfoil tiara time. But they just didn't. And I went through a couple of cases because, as you do on a rainy UK, dark afternoon, as you do. Yeah, and I couldn't find a single case where any of them actually made a difference at all to anyone, even the family themselves. So I kind of find that slightly pointless.
Well, tell us a couple. Can you give us the details of a couple?
There was one. The most famous one was a German lady that kind of popped up and said that she was she said she was Anastasia. So I don't know whether you guys know the background of the Romanoffs. They were murdered. They were kind of pulled out of power by the government, and they were murdered within probably a couple of months of that happening, just to kind of get rid of them. And they were just lined up and shot. But of course, the only people there were the guards that did it. So no one really knows if that was what happened. Later on, there's been graves discovered and remains, and DNA has been taken and things. But at the time, nobody really knew this. And a German lady kind of popped up and said, I got away. One of the guards took pity on me and let me go. and I lived with the guards and people in Germany for a little bit. And when they died, I came over here to kind of to do nothing, basically, to do nothing other than say, I'm Anastasia. Because she was in some sort of like mental health facility for a long time as well. And I thought, well, you're not exactly
Wow.
living it up with balls and kind of fancy tea parties and, blackcurrant cake and whatever else they were doing. So it just, to me, it all seemed really kind of lackluster. You know what I mean? I mean,
But she'd be hiding out. She can't be living it up too much, letting everyone know
they
who she
weren't
is.
they weren't in danger anymore, because the Romanoffs had been out of power for so long.
Mm.
She wasn't unless she did a proper coup, she wasn't going to reclaim her throne. And clearly the government didn't feel that she was, impressive enough to actually take on. So it was just kind of, and it was interesting because someone would say to her, like a fact, like, do you remember that teapot that you used to love? The blue teapot. And she'd go, oh, yes, yes. But then the blue teapot would come up again in conversation with the next family member that she would bring up. So very
yeah.
clear kind of con artist techniques of, which was quite interesting. Obviously, I'm not saying, I don't want to sort of say, well, she wasn't completely, because we don't 100% know, but I doubt it personally.
Well, I think the rumours started because they didn't find Anastasia's body straight away. They found remains of the rest of the family, but I think it was the younger brother and Anastasia who were missing for a while. So that was kind of where the rumour mill started.
But other Romanoffs popped up. They were like daisies on a grave, they just kept popping up. One of them even claimed to be Nicholas, and even though there were remains, they still said, oh, because of course no DNA, the remains was of someone else, was of a guard, and therefore I am the true leader of the Russian Empire. But it was just, very interesting kind of thing. And I just thought, well, they're not really causing a lot of conflict, are they, in terms of...
No, never, no revolutions.
Yeah, I think your characters came up more with the goods, Karen, with what they were doing,
Yeah.
than the Romanoff fakes. But there you go.
Yeah.
I'm long lost and I'm coming to disrupt.
Yes.
Do you know what it made me think of, actually, when you were talking through about that, Nicky, about the Madeleine McCann and the lady who quite recently stepped forward and thought she genuinely thought she was Madeleine McCann, didn't she? Was it Julia Wendell, I think? But it was all over. I'm just thinking about sort of the Anastasia case, but in a modern context. And I say Anastasia case, I should say the Romanoffs, but Anastasia's kind of the one who comes to mind, probably because of Disney. But if that had been, you would have had it all over TikTok and like social media, wouldn't you? Because that was very much a case that was followed. It was she came on social media and said, "Help me! I think I'm Madeleine McCann." And people did. She had sort of people come and, she got flown to have DNA tests. And I think she eventually got the family to agree, but they didn't initially, to having a DNA test to check. And then it did turn out that she wasn't. I think she fully believes she was.
That's sad, really, because that means she doesn't know who she is.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, which brings us back to the identity thing, doesn't it? That when you're seeking, which kind of leads quite nicely into the case that I looked at, because initially I was trying to sort of just look for long lost family cases, kind of went wrong, and trying to put like a murder and killed.
There are a lot, and I think perhaps we can leave it there, because I mean, she's got a lot to tell us. I think we need to put Karen on the spotlight to see where she started her writing career, as well as take her down these rabbit holes that she pushed us down. God damn it! You deserve to be with us.
Forced us down here.
But I think we should be doing that on the next episode, don't you?
Yes, I didn't realise the
Yeah.
time. I was getting carried
You were.
away. Oh, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Karen.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll
Yes, we will see you next time. Well, you'll hear us next time, listeners. You won't see us.
yes.
You'll hear us next time, along with Karen King, the lovely author.
We're not letting you
No.
out of the rabbit hole quite yet.
No, get comfortable, Karen. We do have running water down here. That's what I would
Oh,
say.
that's good. That's good.
At least you've got that.
We've dug through to a well nearby.
Yes. We got through the skeletons of all the dead Romanoffs.
We counted them. They were
But
all
yes.
there.
Although yesterday one was missing. Don't know why.
Don't
Yes.
say that. You'll open up a whole new sea of potential Romanoffs coming forward. Well, thank you very much for joining us down the rabbit hole, listeners, and see you next time. And please make sure you follow us at the Red Rabbit Hole podcast. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we have a Patreon as well.
Don't forget to subscribe to Patreon so you can get early access to all our stuff. Whether you want to or not is completely up to you. I'd like to. Karen, you'd like to, wouldn't you?
Yes, of course.
Of course. So see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.